A fully equipped American Ranger unit from 2026 goes head-to-head with 6 of the most powerful armies in history, one after another. This Ranger battalion of about 750 men has 40 armored Humvees and light utility vehicles, 12 mortar systems, anti-tank weapons, reconnaissance drones, 2 F-35 fighter jets, and 4 M1 Abrams tanks. But there is a catch. They will receive absolutely no external logistical support or resupply. Their first target is Julius Caesar's battle-hardened Roman army of 50,000 men. In the first round, the Rangers do not even take the situation seriously because they know how massive the technological gap is. The only thing on the Ranger commander's mind is conserving ammo and fuel. That is why in round 1, the tanks are not started, the armored vehicles do not move, and the F-35s never even leave the hangar. 750 Rangers dig simple dirt trenches in a wide plain and wait. On the other side, 50,000 legionaries from the Roman Empire's most disciplined era lock their red shields and begin a slow march forward. From their positions, the Ranger infantrymen calmly take single shots with their assault rifles. The deafening cracks of modern automatic rifles and bullets flying from hundreds of meters away rip through the famous thick Roman shields and armor like they are made of cardboard. Caesar is shocked to see his front lines collapse instantly, but he does not give up. To regain control, he orders his massive wooden catapults in the rear to be set up and tries to push his spearmen forward. The Rangers spot this movement instantly using their small reconnaissance drones in the sky. The 12 mortar systems waiting right behind them immediately go to work. Within seconds, the launched mortar shells wipe out the Roman catapult positions and blow up the area right next to Caesar's command center with pinpoint accuracy. Seeing this kind of explosion and firepower for the first time in their lives, the Roman legionaries think it is the wrath of the gods and scatter in total panic. For the Rangers, this round is nothing more than a basic warm-up where they only spend light infantry ammunition. Their chance of victory is a solid 99%. In the second round, they face the true masters of the steppe, Genghis Khan's 80,000 horse archers. Things get a bit more active this time because the Mongols are not a stationary target like the Roman army. They change directions incredibly fast on horseback and constantly execute hit-and-run tactics. To keep the Ranger infantry from getting exhausted and to slow down the horsemen, they deploy 40 armored Humvees this time. The heavy machine guns mounted on the vehicles start spinning, shredding the Mongol cavalry from hundreds of meters away before they can even get within bow range. Genghis Khan, seeing his men drop one by one, spreads his army into a wide circle, trying to surround the Ranger positions and rain down arrows from all directions. But the Mongol arrows just bounce off the armored hulls and bulletproof glass of the vehicles, falling harmlessly to the ground. The Rangers use a few rocket launcher strikes and heavy vehicle ammunition to target the Mongol command center and main tents in the rear. The sheer force of the explosions panics the horses, making them wild and uncontrollable, completely shattering Mongol discipline. The Mongols are forced to retreat rapidly. However, the real danger here is the incredibly clever ambush tactics the Mongols use while retreating. A few Mongol units trap a lagging Humvee in a narrow pass and try to pop its tires with arrows. Their goal is to capture these strange iron carriages and their weapons to figure out how they work. That is why the chance of victory in this round stays at 90%. The remaining 10% risk comes from the possibility of the Mongols capturing some of these weapons and waging guerrilla warfare against the Rangers. In the third round, the Rangers find themselves in the extremely brutal terrain of southern China, filled with dense, untouched jungles, swamps, and river crossings. Facing them is the massive 150,000-man army of the Han Dynasty. Because the terrain is terrible, the Abrams tanks and armored vehicles are kept back in a safe area to avoid the risk of getting stuck in the mud. The Chinese set up sneaky ambushes from the thick trees using poisoned arrows, traps, and rapid-firing advanced crossbows. The Ranger infantry must protect themselves from these poisoned arrows as they push through the jungle. To avoid risking his soldiers, the Ranger commander decides to heavily utilize his 12 mortar systems. Mortar shells are constantly rained down on the Chinese defense lines, archer towers, and hidden camps deep in the jungle. Meanwhile, the infantry uses night vision goggles and thermal cameras to detect enemy soldiers hiding behind trees from their heat signatures, quietly picking them off from hundreds of meters away. The chance of victory in this round is 80%. The 20% chance of defeat comes entirely from the dangers of the swampy terrain, diseases like malaria, and the fact that mortar ammunition depletes extremely fast in dense forest areas. In the fourth round, things get much more serious because they are up against Napoleon, known for his military genius, and his Grande Armée of 200,000 men. Although Napoleon is unaware of the Rangers' technological superiority, he uses the terrain perfectly. He uses his infantry as bait to lure the Rangers' armored vehicles into muddy valleys, while simultaneously opening fire with 200 smoothbore cannons positioned on the hills. A literal rain of shrapnel begins to fall on the Ranger positions. As this intense shrapnel bombardment starts taking a toll on the infantry outside their bunkers, the Rangers are forced to play their heavy cards. The two F-35 fighter jets waiting in the hangar start their engines and soar into the sky. Within minutes, the F-35s wipe all of Napoleon's artillery batteries and main command center off the map using laser-guided precision bombs. Seeing these massive and invisible deadly explosions coming from the sky, the French soldiers have no idea what hit them. Completely losing their battle discipline, the French infantry divisions flee in panic without looking back, before they can even get within range of the Rangers' assault rifles. However, in this round, the Rangers suffer their first serious infantry casualties due to artillery shrapnel. And most importantly, a large portion of the F-35's jet fuel and highly valuable bombs are used up. That is why the chance of victory drops to 65%. By the fifth round, everything becomes much harder because they are facing a true modern war machine, the World War II German Army. With heavy Tiger tanks, Panzers, legendary MG, 42 machine guns spitting 1,200 rounds per minute, and radio-coordinated artillery batteries, the Wehrmacht stands against the Rangers. For the first time, the Rangers are fighting an enemy that understands their own military tactics, is aware of aerial threats, and possesses highly powerful armored vehicles. The German Tiger tanks are powerful enough to destroy the Rangers' lightly armored Humvees with a single shot. That is why the Rangers finally deploy their 4 M1 Abrams tanks to the front line. Using advanced fire control systems, the Abrams tanks pick off the German tanks one by one from long distances, even while on the move. But the Germans have an overwhelming numerical advantage and apply pressure from all sides. Due to heavy German artillery support and MG-42 fire pinning them down from the trenches, the Ranger infantry cannot even move. To win here, the Rangers are forced to ditch direct combat and pivot to guerrilla warfare. Hiding behind ruined buildings and trees, they ambush Panzers using shoulder-fired missiles. The F-35s strike the German headquarters with their last remaining bombs, but the powerful German anti-aircraft batteries give the jets a hard time. At the end of this incredibly brutal and grueling round, the Rangers' chances of winning are extremely low, as their remaining missiles, tank shells, and fuel are nearly completely depleted. Not to mention the heavy infantry casualties. That is why their chance of victory is 45%. And in the final round, it looks like the end of the line for the Rangers. Standing before them is the 1980s Cold War-era Soviet Union Army. Hundreds of thousands of Soviet soldiers take the field with thousands of T-72 tanks, armored personnel carriers, attack helicopters, Katyusha rockets, and most importantly, advanced air defense systems like the S-200 and Strela that have a real shot at bringing down the F-35s. Because the technological gap is so narrow in this era, powerful Soviet radar and electronic warfare systems completely cut off the Rangers' reconnaissance drones and radio communications. Soviet artillery batteries paint the sky red, raining thousands of rockets onto the Ranger positions. Even though the 4 Abrams tanks use every remaining round and missile to blow up several Soviet tanks, they are completely helpless against the incoming wave of hundreds of steel-armored vehicles. The F-35 is still extremely powerful for that era, but once its ammunition and fuel are gone, the battle is still raging. Looking at the ratio, even though the Ranger Battalion has eliminated far more enemies, the numbers gap is just too overwhelming. The 750-man Ranger Battalion is completely surrounded by this massive wall of steel closing in from all directions. In this final round, the Rangers' chance of victory is set at a mere 10%. The narrow technological gap, combined with the overwhelming logistical and numerical superiority of the Soviets, makes this outcome inevitable. Which other historical army do you think we should have included in this simulation? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. For similar videos, you can click on the playlist on your screen. Also, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you on the next battlefield.